CQ RAYNET. This is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, serving as net control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net on talk groups 23531 and 50233531. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time and is open to all amateur radio operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic, news, opinions, and information. Additional information on RAYNET can be found at www.raynet.uk. www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls will be made to the net control station unless you're instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name, and if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then please make it clear you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I will repeat who I've heard. If you're not acknowledged, then please do try again. And if you miss your turn for calling in, then I will be calling for strays at the end of the United Kingdom stations and at the end of the international ones. So I'll now begin taking check-ins to the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net, as usual, in call sign number order. So any stations with figure 8 in their call sign wishing to check in, please call now. This is G4NRC.
G4NRC, Golf 8, Kilo, Lima, Charlie. Name's Phil. Golf 8, Echo Yankee. Name is Mike.
G4NRC has got Phil, Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, and Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee. Any other rates, please? G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so it's stations figure 7 in their call sign, please. G4NRC, over.
G78, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg.
G4NRC has got Graham, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, and Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Any others, please? It's figure 7 in their call sign. G4NRC, over. 4NRC, nothing heard. Let's have stations figure 6 in their call sign, please. G4NRC, over.
November Yankee India, Alan, Planet RAYNET, in and out, but testing a 4G router.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Alan. Mike 6 November Yankee India, your router sounds good. No packet loss showing anywhere, but copied you in and out. Any other 6s, please? G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so it's stations figure 5 in their call sign. Please call now. This is G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so let's have stations figure 4 in their call signs, please. This is G4NRC, over.
Golf 4, Delta Tango Mike. Pete, good afternoon, Greg.
G4NRC, G4KUJ, Trevor in Watford, coming through the YSF server today, just for a change, which does seem to be working, from G4KUJ.
G4 NRC, so that's good afternoon, Pete, Golf 4 Delta Tango Mike, and Trevor, G4 KUJ, noted via YSF, and yes, it is working, just some little glitches that Guy and I are looking at. Any other fours, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, no more fours, so let's go for stations figure 3 in their call signs, please. This is G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, okay, slight audio problem there. Chris, Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, saw you on screen and Trevor typed in the log, but I got no audio. Would you just like to go again, please, and confirm if you're in and out or staying with me? G3VH, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC, G3VH. In and out this afternoon, good afternoon, Greg. I don't know what the problem is there. I'll check on that this end. It's on the other rig. I'm back on the handheld now. G3VH, Winchester, Northwest South RAYNET.
G4 NRC returning. Yeah, Trevor got it and typed into the log. You were coming up on the wrong talk group, Chris, so copied you in and out. I was just looking at the main herd list and don't actually look what talk group stuff comes in on. My bad, but anyway, good afternoon to you. Thanks for checking in. Any other threes, please? G4 NRC, over. For NRC, nothing further heard from the threes, so it's twos, stations with 2 in their call sign, primarily aimed at intermediate twos. Please call now. This is G4 NRC, over.
2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra 20 CMS. Colin from Midway, in and out this week. Please, Greg.
G4 NRC, good afternoon, Colin. 2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra, copied in and out. Any other twos, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, then it's stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, second call from the stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead, over. G4 NRC, no ones, so here we go into the zeros, and let's have the Mike Zero stations of any regional secondary identifier. Please call now. This is G4 NRC, over.
M0 JSA East Sussex. M0 MFS Drew West Devon.
M0 LIP, in and out, just monitoring. Phil in Hailsham, Mike 0 Lima India Papa. Mike 0 Whiskey X-Ray Golf, Shirley in Cornwall, in and out. Thank you, Greg.
Mike 0, India Tango Mike, Andy with Shirley, also in Cornwall, in and out. Thank you, Greg.
This is Chief for NRC for the video The Smile. I know when I've got Shirley and Andy and I've got most of my compliments of Mike Zeros. So, Mike 0, Juliet Sierra Alpha, Alan, Mike 0, Juliet Foxtrot Sierra Drew, and staying with me, and Mike 0, Lima India Papa Philip, Mike 0, Whiskey X-Ray Golf Shirley, and Mike 0, India Tango Mike Andy are all in and out. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? Chief or NRC, over.
M0 MFS, Drew.
Noted the correction. Sorry, Drew. Don't know why I wrote down a J rather than M. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra is now corrected in the log. Thanks, Drew. Any other Mike 0s, over? Then it's on to the Golf 0. Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier. This is G4 and RC, over.
Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Name is Andy, Pembrokeshire Raynet. Good afternoon, Greg. No traffic today, so in and out, please. Over. Golf 0, Charlie Foxtrot Bravo, Richard, East Suffolk Raynet, in and out.
G4 and RC. Good afternoon, Andy. Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-Ray, and Richard Golf 0, Charlie Foxtrot Bravo, both in and out. Any other Golf 0 stations, please? G4 and RC, over.
Golf 0, Whiskey Bravo X-Ray on the KBV handheld.
G4 and RC. Good afternoon, Dave. Golf 0, Whiskey Bravo X-Ray. Okay, any UK stations who missed their turn to call in who wish to do so, please call now. G4 and RC, over. For an RC, nothing heard, so let's now go for any international liaison stations. From our colleagues in Central Europe, Nord Samband of Norway up in Scandinavia, Aaron in Ireland, any international liaisons, please? G4 and RC, over.
Oscar Mike 4, Alpha Echo India. The name is Peter. I have no traffic. In and out, please.
Oscar Mike 4, Alpha Echo India. Good afternoon, Peter. Yeah, I saw your call sign on the screen earlier, so I was worried if you were not going to call in when I'd seen you. Good afternoon to you. Copied in and out. Any other stations now, UK or international, who've missed their turn to call in, please go ahead. This is G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Reminder that the net is being live streamed by Graham, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, to YouTube as usual today. The live stream and recording are available by searching G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, on youtube.com. Apologies if my video disappears. The host we use for relaying video has been suffering a denial of service attack for the last few days, and it was affecting my check-in with Graham just a few minutes before the net. So if it goes, it goes. It'll be back if it wants to. So the news this weekend focuses on the announcement finally, after initial testing in 2021, that the UK emergency alert system will be launched next month and trialled on the evening of the 23rd of April. This is the system which will send messages to all phones in an area affected by an emergency. Previously, we've wondered how groups would learn of an unfolding emergency and what they would do, like go to their group channel to monitor. So I'm wondering, for the people on the net, have you heard of the scheme before? I think I might have mentioned it quite a few weeks ago. Is your phone set up for it? And will it alter the way your group may deploy? And the public service announcement is, if anybody wants to find more information, go to www.gov.uk/alerts. One other engineering announcement is that we're aware of an issue with Pheonix repeaters having a very short timeout for user accessible talk groups like 23531. I take it's been raised to see if we can get our talk group a few extra seconds so we're not bumped out after 5 seconds of inactivity. That's the hope. So, top of the list, what news from everybody else? Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, over to you, Phil. G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 NRC in the group, G8 KLC Lincolnshire RAYNET. Yes, we had heard about the alerter, but in no great details. So at the moment, for fairly obvious reasons, but it will be handy to have that facility. That will be well worthwhile. Okay, on the engineering, that again doesn't really affect us. We've got very little DMR in the group at the moment, and I'm not sure there was another question in there or not. Wonder how successful or how interesting the COM meeting went. I didn't plague you about it, but I'm sure it was discussed from G8 KLC.
LC, G4 and RC returning. Okay, most mobile phones of the last, I'm going to say, few years will cope with these cell broadcasts. Despite this sounding new, cell broadcast is a thing that's been in the specifications for ages. So they are set up to receive it. It's just that the networks are actually going to push it now. So you can inhibit it, but I think it is set up for a default receive of emergency alerts at least. If you have a very good phone, then you can even turn on the engineering tests, which have been going on for the last few months, which have scared people in my office witless when this sound has come out, and I've been struggling to unlock the phone and read the announcements and so on. So, yeah, it should default for the worst ones. You might have some control, and it's buried deep in the settings of your Android or iPhone operating system. Given another COM member is about to speak next, was of course very interesting, but relevant to your parts, Phil. The trial website is currently down for reasons I've not quite ascertained, which has held me up. So I might have a play setting something up on my own on WordPress to see what I can do for the subdomain. Okay, next to Mike, Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. Yes, oh, interesting. Just a quick scroll left so I can see what I've written. Yep, weather here, 10.7 centigrade, 1016 millibars, 71% relative humidity, 70% cloud cover, an easy 8 miles an hour from the west. Yes, I'm aware of the alert system. Always thought it was an interesting, just when these things might go off in unfortunate circumstances. My mobile's probably not set up for it. I'm not quite sure whether the Nokia 3310 can do that. I've actually just upgraded to something slightly newer. It was handed to me as a free gift, which has actually got one of these LCD screens on it. Must try and find out how it works. Yeah, the squirrels have been at our latest exercise acorns. We were planning to do some tests from the SADAR UK mobile control unit they've got, but unfortunately it suffered a brake failure, so it wasn't available on the day. Those squirrels get everywhere. From G8EEY. Over.
Eight Echo Echo Yankee G4 NRC. Okay, Trevor really will have to mark my logging of you. All weather copied. Yes, I'm not sure cell broadcast goes all the way back to Nokia 3310s. So if I say smartphone era is probably what we're aiming for. Though I do still think cell broadcast was a thing going even further back than that, but it's whether or not all the functionality be available. Noted your exercise was slightly upended by mechanical failure, and Trevor will be laughing by how much I was trying to avoid typing in squirrels as he was speaking about it into the log. Okay, thanks, Mike. Graham, G7NEH, with, I think, good news about the YouTube stream for last week. G7NEH, G4NRC, over. Yeah, G4NRC, G7NEH. Yeah, good afternoon, Greg, and good afternoon to all on the net. The YouTube stream last week was very successful, with a total of 50 views and 9 likes, which is the most we've ever had. So thank you to all those people who got that up to that level. And yeah, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. All comments will be answered. So there we go. Not a lot else to add from this end. I was a bit late starting the stream today. We just caught the beginning of the net. Just had some audio issues setting it up with the stream, but managed to resolve them just in time. So with that, back to you, Greg, and drop me out to the next round. I'll keep listening unless you actually want me to add anything. So there we go. G4NRC, G7NEH. G7NEH, G4NRC. Now that's good news, Graham. Nice that YouTube is continuing to get traction. And yeah, we're not automated enough to have the stream start up by itself and precisely on time. I think Graham does spare people me mouthing out 3, 2, 1 as I'm watching a countdown for 1600 to rock up off any video. Okay, copied you out on this one, Graham. Thank you, and I'll just drop back to the video after we've completed the net. Make sure I clear slightly cleaner than last week, where it was a rapid run out to get to the basketball game. But today's not time constrained. So next it's Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon to everyone on the net. I hope everyone is well. Not a bad day today, been overcast. For those people that have been out and about, perhaps for Mother's Day lunches and things, it's not been a bad day at all. The rain has cleared from yesterday. It was pretty much rained all day here yesterday in Cheshire. But yeah, as for your question on the alert, I have seen some things pop up, but unfortunately, I've just tried the Gov website and it's down at the moment. It's not coming up with the alert page at the moment. But yeah, I'll have a look forward. It'll be something entertaining for a Sunday evening. If it goes off, it might cause either mass panic or people will just ignore it across the country, with it being, I think, St George's Day on the same day. Back to you, Greg. Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4NRC. I just had to check the website for myself, thinking that surely a RAYNET call can't actually crash a government website. It's come up for me, Dave. It might just be a little bit glitchy, as it was snuck out in the news pretty much today. Nothing like releasing policy announcements on a Sunday. But since this was meant to go out, I think last October was the last supposed go live. I'm just relieved they have actually put some effort behind it this time and put a date on it. Sunday evening, or St George's Day evening, is probably the best time to try it, because I think there are some issues with what happens if you get this horrible shrieking noise that you have to deal with while you're driving. I'm not sure the system's good at inhibiting itself when you're mobile, but we will see how the public respond to it. Okay, thanks, Dave. I'm sure there'll be more when I come back to you next. Pete, Golf 4 Delta Tango Mike, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, G4NRC, G4DTM. Greetings all from sunny Northampton. Yeah, so while everyone was chatting away there, I quickly dived into the website, as obviously a lot of other people did, because maybe we did crash it. But interestingly enough, it is quite explicit. The phones that will work will have to have 4G or 5G. It will not work on 2 or 3G. It will not work on Wi-Fi. And if your local mast doesn't support 4 or 5G, it won't work either. So that was my quick research. I've heard about it quite a bit recently because my favourite radio station, Boom Radio, for those who are of an age will get the reference, have been trailing ads for this for at least a week, and I have been waiting patiently to have some better information, like a website to go to check what's going to happen. So thank you for that, and the date, the 23rd. So I'm sure we're going to sit around and have lots of non-technical people coming down to their favourite help desk, the local 5-year-old or 10-year-old, or maybe a radio amateur. Anyway, that about sums it up from here for the moment. G4 NLC, G4 DTM.
For DTM Golf, for November Romeo Charlie returning. Okay, that's interesting. Boom Radio are actually covering it. I'm afraid I don't trust much radio advertising at the moment. The channel I listen to, if I'm actually listening to radio in the car, is more electronic dance music, so aimed at the 20-year-olds, but curiously carrying at the moment adverts for Saga and pet insurance. Not quite what you expect for the target audience. So I think first a lot of people hear about this will be on the 23rd when the buzz actually goes out, and it does include the web address in that at that time, and then we'll see if the website crashes. Okay, thanks Pete, and thanks for the information on 4G and 5G. I thought it did go a bit further back to GSM era, but maybe not. Okay, next to Trevor, Golf 4 Kilo Uniform Juliet to G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KUJ. Yep, okay, good afternoon to everybody. All signals very good, clear audio via the ISF route, which is nice to just confirm it. Yeah, I was aware of the broadcasting. I seem to remember that many years ago, probably more than I care to remember, I attended a couple of workshops organised by CCS and BAPCO, I think, on behalf of the National Voluntary Sector Group, about warning and informing the public, and that's where cell broadcasting was first highlighted, I think, in the UK. but it had been in use in other countries for quite some time. My understanding from what I've read today is that when the alarm comes in, it will override, even if the phone is on mute and the volume turned down, and you do have to actively switch it off. But once you've done that, I believe on the application you can actually decide not to have it functioning. But I think the first time you won't have any option because it's a default setting. Yeah. And I think even in the days of the 3310, cell broadcasting was actually possible, but the manufacturers didn't include it in their firmware sets on the phones. From what I can remember from a long time ago. G4 NRC, G4 KUJ.
G4KUJ, G4NRC, there you go in that time. Yes, you've just jogged my memory for Pete's point about 4G and 5G phones only. Reminded me that Vodafone 3 and others, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago, are actively sunsetting 3G transmissions from this month, next month, through to the end of the year. So 2G only survives for its low bandwidth Internet of Things capability by the feel of it. The alert to be actively switched off if it's sounding, I found particularly difficult on the engineering tests if you have a screen lock. Because by the time you've fought your way through whatever your screen lock is, the alert kind of disappears off screen. But I'd like a proper test, not an engineering one, just to confirm it is behaving in the right manner. Okay, next with hopefully an event report, it's Alan, Mike 0 Juliet Alpha, fresh from the first of the year, from G4NRC, over.
Yes, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, a lot has been happening today. It's been on our first event of the season, which is good. Very rusty. Some of the procedures let themselves down a bit, but we got there in the end. About 300 runners on a half marathon in the rolling Suffolk countryside. Stayed dry but dull, but no wind, so that was fine. The daffodils outside the church I was parked at were lovely, really nice. The village green was waterlogged. If I'd have driven my car or my Land Rover onto it, I would have definitely sunk in and needed recovering, I reckon. Two things then off what you've been saying so far. Notification alerts. Yeah, I've just looked at mine. I've got an Android 13 Samsung Galaxy phone, and it's under notifications, advanced settings, wireless emergency alerts. And down there is turned on, but you can turn it off. And there is an emergency alert history tab which shows you alerts which you've missed. So that's all there. That's Android 13. So it's not a particularly new one. I'll just take a pip. I don't want time to repeat it, right? As far as Pheonix is concerned, they seem to have made a change, as your request. If the 23531 is a currently active user active service, i.e. within the 15 minutes timeout, you've got 20 seconds over timeout. If it's dropped out of the user activated 15 minutes timeout, you've only got 15 seconds, which is the default. So it does actually do different things. If it's not already keyed up on the repeater, it allows 15 second gaps. And if it's keyed up on the repeater as a user activated talk group, you've got 20 seconds. So that's very good. That's enough waffle for me, Greg. So G4NRC, M0JSA.
Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4NRC returning. Okay, yeah, those times I think can be set by local repeater keepers. We're trying to get something set system-wide policy because it seems Dennis, who occasionally comes up on this net, reported it was down to 5 seconds, not 15. And that was a very short bump off, and that was not on 23531, but on some of Pheonix's own 3-digit talk groups. And noting you're on Android 13, also, given the denial of service attack on my providers, I was seeing stuff cheerfully being sold in Currys yesterday, tablets proudly advertising that they ran Android 9. And it's how old does an operating system have to be before you decide this is not worth keeping alive because of vulnerabilities. But a slightly different story, maybe for the next round. Okay, 2 to go on the list. It's Drew next. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra from G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC from Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. Just quickly confirm you're getting me this time, Greg, will you, over?
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. Yes, loud and clear, no packet loss. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. It's nice to be back. I don't know what, I've had no end of problems with my open GD77 hotspot. All of a sudden, it's refusing to act like a modem for more than about 6 seconds, and very weird scenario. It works perfectly for receive, and as soon as you hit the transmit, I say it drops off. So I've had to go back to a manual, old-fashioned hotspot, which is working fine, obviously. It has kept me into touch, and it has made me start to put together a repeater that I've been pontificating over for probably the last 2 years. So I'm starting to put together a repeater for the area, a DMR repeater, and I shall be referencing Guy's wonderful document. From the Gov alerting, there's 2 levels of alert in iOS that I'm aware of. It's at the bottom of the notifications, and I think they're extreme and something else other than extreme. Can I remember exactly what they are? Extreme and severe, and you can block them. From what I understand, the first one that comes out will, even if you block them in the phone, the first one that comes out overrides those blocks and appears on the main notification screen for iOS, and you can't do anything else with the phone until you've supported it. As far as gov.uk/alert, I'm hoping that's not one of the gov.uk sites that my company hosts. It might be, and I will talk to some relevant people on Monday to find out who hosts it, because clearly it's going to get hit very hard when the first message comes out. So I guess we're looking for some fun around that time. Other than that, not a lot radio-wise to say. We actually managed to get the West Devon AGM through a couple of weeks ago, and somebody didn't duck and is now deputy controller, but that could be fun as well. From Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra.
Zero, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4 and RC returning. Yeah, we do tend to get slower the higher up the chain we get. You don't move out fast enough out of the way for some of these admin roles. Great, okay, congratulations. The usual, I think. What did you just say? I'm just to be clear, just in case it was a mishearing earlier. So the website is www.gov.uk/alerts, Alpha Lima Echo Romeo Tango Sierra, plural, just to be sure people do get to the right page. This is the same grief I have with what 3 words, that for the sake of a plural you can wind up in a totally different place. It will be interesting to see how this happens, and I think there's areas with flood risks who will get these alerts far more frequently than others, because it inevitably is going to turn into the preferred solution for warning and informing, because why maintain a warning and informing network if you can just rent it from somebody else? So I think that'll be the future. Okay, the hotspot's failing. I'll think about that one maybe for the next round. But finally on our list today, it's Dave, Golf Sierra, Whiskey Bravo X-Ray, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4NRC, G8, well, G0WBX, also known on the dashboard as G8KBV. Yes, afternoon, Greg. Long time no speak. Just checked my old phone, which is an antique Motorola G, or Moto G, the original thing, which is a 3G phone. That has the alert scheme on it. I've just enabled it all, so we'll see what happens. As for, yes, I'm aware that Vodafone and others want to sort of turn a lot of that stuff off, as it's costing them money, and they've been peddling the faster 4G and 5G since then, but many parts of the country either don't have 4G or 5G, or if they have, it doesn't work very well, and quite a few of the lesser phone networks that are 4G or 5G only don't have a fallback to 3G or even lower anyway, which makes it a bit of a mess if you're a little bit further away from the beaten track. But we'll see what happens on April the 23rd. And yes, I was another one who didn't quite duck fast enough. I'm now Deputy Group Controller of Aylesbury. So what could possibly go wrong? Anyway, back to you, Greg. NRC, I've forgotten the rest of the call sign because you're up here as DUB, but you know who you are. From Golf 0 Whiskey Bravo X-Ray or G8KBV, depending what you look at.
Whiskey Bravo X-Ray, G4 and RC returning. Yes, I know I could switch the identity to show G4 and RC because obviously it's a call sign and I can got the ID for it. But it's getting people to get through that situational awareness that on some DMR use scenarios you might be picking up somebody else's radio or a spare to help. Yes, the lack of parts of the country with no 4G, 5G, etc. Also in the news, but not hugely relevant yet, was a merger proposal between Vodafone and Three, I think it was, with a view that it would help both of them try and recover some of that ground to get coverage where the other networks don't reach. But then you wind up with fewer apparent network operators. So we will see how this progresses. 4G reminds me as well, kudos to those people who are trying remote routers and mobile hotspots. I note that when I am at basketball with 1,500 people watching a game, my 4G speeds drop to kilobits rather than megabits because of the concentration of people. And then after the game, when everybody disperses, it gets back up to the 80-odd megabits a second that everybody was loving when it first got launched. So you might get the bandwidth, but do you always get the capacity on the backhaul is a different challenge. Right, so the other question for the second round is flooding. It was rather wet yesterday. Is everybody ready for surface water flooding, etc.? G8KLC, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC, G8KLC. Interesting question. They say be careful what you exercise. A few months ago, obviously, we had the flood exercise. And I think the local councils are a little bit more concerned about flooding in the area. It's a bit more common. It's interesting to hear that we had the driest February, and there's going to be host pipes bans coming up. And at the moment, although it's not raining today, we've had a fair amount of rain. But no sign of flooding yet, other than some big puddles in the roads, and we can put up with that. Now, I've got nothing else to say, Greg, so I'll say 73s and catch you all next week from G8KLC.
G8KLC, G4 NRC. Yeah, flooding got on my mind, but mostly because the Met Office, those people who are registered with Met Office Hazard Manager or even some Resilience Direct accounts, got approached by a Met Office survey about what was your organisation's readiness and response for flooding, and were you getting the right information at the right time, which seemed to be awfully synchronised with let's have an emergency alerting scheme coming out as well. So yeah, it is the next thing. It might be dry, but that means the ground's hard and the water doesn't run off quite the way you'd like it to in some areas, which is a nuisance. But of course, this is all baby flooding compared to what Mike deals with. So it's over to Mike next. Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G for an RC, over.
G4NRC from G8EEY, in the land of adult flooding, no doubt. Ah, well, I must admit, I had a look at the alerts site. I'm still looking at it and reading the instructions that if you're driving or riding a motorcycle, you should ignore this loud siren going off and not try and do anything about it. In this part of the world, if anybody hears a siren, such as a police car or an ambulance, they probably stamp on the brakes and stop. So it'd be interesting to see what happens if they try that. I'm always quite happy with updating operating systems. I just have a problem with the amount of hardware that has to get scrapped in the process because it can't handle the new operating systems. And until we manage to handle that so that stuff doesn't go into landfill, which is where it seems to go. Ah, dear. Yep, phone signals. Well, I must admit, on Sheringham Beach, you get very good mobile phone signals. Further up on the cliffs, you don't get good signals. But the ones from the beach, basically, you're going into Holland on their system. Yeah. There are a lot of areas in Norfolk where there really are not very good 2, 3, 4, or even 5G around. And the biggest problem with flooding, inland flooding, is the amount of building that's going on top of land that was otherwise been soaking up the water. And they don't seem to be building the infrastructure required to deal with the runoff. But that's my lot for this time. I'm sure you can end up finding some more questions for me, suitable date in the future. From G8EEY, over.
Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC. Right, thought-provoking, not got any more questions though. The noise that comes over is a two-tone, so not an ENA, but a two-tone simultaneously. I don't think it's the same as the maritime audio alert signal that used to go out on 2182, but it's discordant tones. You know it's there. But it doesn't wail, it doesn't change tones, because they're both going out at once, it doesn't change amplitude, it's just there until you can figure out how to stop it. So hopefully no discrepancy with people confusing it with a blue light vehicle. Updating hardware for operating systems, answer's easy, Dave will agree, just go for Linux, and you can run amazingly old computers on Linux, but that's a different saga. But what you have brought out is a very good one that some areas of the country will get far better phone signals, but no alerts from adjacent countries. And there's no workaround for that. Holland won't be sending out cell broadcasts on our behalf to ensure that your area gets its alerts. So, yeah, that one could be fun to see what happens in very coastal communities. Okay, thanks, Mike. Talk to you next week. Next left with us is Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Yeah, I've found the website, Greg, with the alerts, with the plural, as you say. Sunday 23rd. I just hope it's not at around about 1600 hours on Sunday the 23rd, or else there'll be a couple of dozen of us retransmitting the alert around the net, maybe. But yeah, there's no time, it says. As for flooding, That's one of Dave's pet hates. All I can say is Cheshire Highways maintain the gully system. Back to you, Greg. Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and LC. Well, yes, I suppose it's public information too time. At least in April we'll be on a British summertime, and by saying early evening, to most people that's before sunset, so it might give us a little more time than we'd have now. I almost hope it does go out at 4 o'clock, and then we'll see how well it works. Middle Daughter was involved with some of the testing of this when it was done in particular town and city areas last year before last even, and it was making sure it got the coverage that was required. All the complaints as generally came back in for it not working when people have been hyped up and ready for something to kick off. Highways drainage is very much well, obviously we're both in Cheshire, but it just reinforces surface water flooding a bit different than tides, a little less predictable depending on who's dropped what down the drains. Okay, thanks Dave. Well, no doubt chat you later on WhatsApp to see what else is going on. Final next from Pete's Golf 4 Delta Tango Mike, G4 and RC over. Golf 4, Delta Tango Mike, aware that my last transmission went out in a blaze of glory. G4 DTM, G4 NRC, over. Nope, nothing from Pete. But remember to give him a call at the end. Trevor, over to you. G4KUJ, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC, G4KUJ. Yeah, okay, I've all stations all copied very well again. Yes, the what happens on the coastline can be quite interesting. Certainly down in Dover, if you go walking up on the cliffs there, your phone suddenly pings and says "Welcome to Vodafone France," which is quite entertaining. Interesting what Mike was saying about Sheringham. Do know Sheringham quite well, and we're on our phones are on Vodafone, and they, from memory, work very well both on the beach and in the town and right out to the cliffs. So I suppose it depends on what operator you're on. The Vodafone have already turned off some 3G capability in some areas. I was reading the other day. I think someone else may be following suit as well. Apart from that, nothing further. I'll pass it back to you, and I'll won't come back and just keep logging till the end. Greg, G4 NRC, 4KUJ.
G4KUJ, G4 NRC. Okay, Trevor. Yeah, not looked to see if there is actually a turn-off plan for Vodafone. Probably need to get some wider information out to people, those who've got mobile controlled units that have mobile phones in them that may not be used very often with pay-as-you-go SIMs might get slightly caught out as one of our user groups. Okay, next for a final, it's over to Alan. Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Couple of things in really from that lot. Yeah, Windows 11. I haven't. All the computers I've got, I've touched. None of them are capable of doing Windows 11. So hopefully Windows 10 will keep on for some time. Linux is not an option. Can't stand it.
someone did sell me the idea of having Linux. So I installed it on my machine. That was wonderful. He said, you don't get any updates, and I got thousands of updates. And then the updates stopped working because it had gone out of support. And then I can't get it back off the PC now. But no, never mind. Pheonix is very quiet this afternoon. In fact, that's totally dead, which allowed me to do some more tests. Pheonix does only allow 15 seconds on 119 and 129 when I key them up. So we appear to have an extra 5 seconds on 23531 while it's activated on the repeater in question. So I have done something. And that's about all, really. Our mobile phones around here aren't very good anyway, and I think they have started switching 3G off here on some of them because the phones now don't work so reliably because the 4G doesn't get so far, which is a bit of a shame. We don't get a lot of flooding here on the coast because we're fairly high up. If my village flood, the country's definitely in trouble. But we do get quite a bit of flooding out well up in all afternoon at Stowmarket in the High Suffolk. And the rivers tend to flood the little valleys, it's up and down, and that floods the valleys. But that's a fair bit of surface water today, but not enough to worry about. But yes, if you hit them at any kind of speed, they can take you by surprise. Have a great Sunday. Glad you're not rushing about today, Greg. We'll catch you later. Thanks for running the net. G4NRC, M0JSA, and the group.
0JSA, G4 and RC. Yeah, well, what am I up to? I think it's 3 games left, and then maybe 1 or 2 more after that if we get to the next stage of the competition. And then I'll have a set of Sundays where I'm not tearing around everywhere. Okay, Linux support, yes, it's not forever. Long-term support does exist, but it's more like years and years and years, not Windows, which is short. Well, that's the feeling as we're going through yet another upgrade and a hardware upgrade at work as accordingly. Okay, 2 to go on the net today. Next it's Drew, Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, Mike 0 Foxtrot, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. Oh, I'm not going to get into the conversation about Windows support and Unix support, and I'm sure you know my point on that one. Other than that, I'm just trying to put tea on the table, so I'm going to make this very short. Thanks for running the net, and catch you all next week, and let's see if it's happened or if it happens while we're on. From Mike 0 MFS.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC. Oh, there's loads of time between now and the 23rd of April for people to forget that this is coming. And I'm sure some will see what the publicity departments and departments of nudge can do to keep people alerted. Sorry, pun intended. To make this test a success. Okay, final, possibly second final. Dave G0WBX is next, and then I'll go back and try Pete one final time. So Golf 0, Whiskey Bravo X-Ray, G4 and RC. Over.
Yeah, G4NRC and RC, I think it is. G0WBX, aka GKBV, that's okay. Greg, yeah, chuckling here, listening to the thing about updates and OSs. I do know that Windows 11 can be made to run on just about anything that previously ran Windows 98. You just have to convince it to do so. Apparently there's no hardware restrictions on it, despite what Microsoft might say. But the usual caveat applies. Give the machine a good clear out and stuff it as full of RAM as you possibly can, because modern OSs, whatever, love acres and acres of RAM and such like. Linux, well, I've been using Linux for some years now, and quite frankly not regretted it. It was the Windows 10 forced update that forced me off of Windows. And I'm currently in the process of looking at what to do, because my version of Linux, Linux Mint 19, is end of life at the end of this month. And I'm thinking of going to one of the rolling releases, specifically the Linux Mint Debian edition, which sort of does a continuous sort of smooth update or upgrade or whatever. And yeah, anybody who thinks that Linux doesn't get any updates has never used it. Many. But they take a fraction of the time of any Windows update, including any that do the kernel, and that includes the necessary sort of log out, reboot, and log in to make those changes. You can be done in a fraction of the time. I'm talking minutes rather than hours. So much better. Plus, you can lock it down and prevent it from doing anything if you're out on a mission with it and stuff like that. Frankly, I love it to the point where I have trouble finding my way around the Windows system these days, even the older ones that I used to know. Anyway, other than that, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens next month with the alerts and whatever in between. And regarding flooding and stuff, yeah, we've got the same sort of thing around here, rampant development here, there and everywhere. Lack of infrastructure, and that includes schools, doctors' surgeries, and God knows what for the proposed numbers of houses and the people that may or may not land on our doorstep. Anyway, I won't carry on, we'll be here all day. Cheers, Greg, back to you. From Golf Zero Whiskey Bravo X-Ray.
Golf Zero Whiskey Bravo X-Ray G4NRC. Yeah, currently the net is run across two computers here, one running Debian 11 and the other one on Linux Mate on a single board computer, which has got most of the dashboards on that people on screen who watch me on screen can't see. It's off to my right hand side with all the different dashboards on. But I have to deal with the other system at work. Right, let's go on the basis of no station left behind. Golf 4 Delta Tango Mike, G4 DTM, you still with me? Pete, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 and RC, G4 DTM. Just make sure I'm getting in because I did reply last time, but obviously didn't get through. So just a quick check before I give feedback.
G4 DTM, loud and clear, 1% packet loss, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 and RC, G4 DTM. Yeah, not an awful lot to add to that. On the iPhone, the alerts are hidden in their own emergency app, which falls in the general apps column. It's got a developer mode, which I presume equates to engineering. Flooding attributed and confounded by the insistence on channelizing everything everywhere, so the water can't spread out properly. And yeah, I am known to sit and watch the Raspberry Pi updates go through on the Pi Star on my file server and on my Pi 400, just for the pleasure of watching a proper OS handle updates properly, unlike the horrible thing I have to deal with at work, where updates for Windows have to be planned in production environments so you don't kill factories, and where IT departments will roll out to production machines Windows updates which then kill the factory, and it's not their fault, of course. So yeah, I rather love the pleasure of Unix, having hit it back in the days of Xenix and AIX. But anyway, thanks for hosting as usual, and we'll see everyone next week, and wait for that horrible tone I remember from the days I used to work on ships on 2182 on the 23rd. Cheers all. G4 DTM clear with G4 NRC.
G4 NRC, returning to Golf 4 Delta Tango Mike. Okay, Pete, I made up a fake 2182 tone because... Hello, packet loss is affecting me now. Right, I made up a tone generator to make the 2182 emergency tone, and haven't actually played that back recently to see how it compares to the two-tone that is used by the emergency alerts. The emergency alert one is apparently a rip-off of the American alert system tones, so it may not align beautifully, but it still has the same way of getting attention. Your comment about watching updates on Pi Star as a way of working properly, there is an issue with that. I got into an argument with a German amateur on Matrix, one of the independent social media methods at the moment, He was saying that PyStar is still based on a rather old version of Linux and was complaining that it should be updated so it's on the latest system rather than the very old Raspberry, and as I believe it's built on. I'm not sure if that's going to happen immediately, but I suppose there are also some risks where systems are left legacy for a bit too long, just surviving on patches. However, excellent net, nice not to be have to rush today. Hopefully you all appreciated the extra time to talk. But it is time to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedules to participate this afternoon. Thanks for the good discussion. Be careful, have a good week, until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time. Remembering it will be British summertime, I'll now close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net and return the talk groups to being an open net rather than a directed net. 730, this is Golf on November Romeo Charlie now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo.